Hello, welcome. We're going to let everyone come on, so we'll give it just a minute. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started so we can keep everybody on time. I'm Megan Muty. I'm the director of Family Matters Parent Training and Information Center. And today we are really just here as Zoom facilitators. We have Zaidi, and he has been working with us probably for about 2 months.
About two or
And
three
we've
months.
been thrilled. He brought up a topic and asked if there was some interest in, and I told him that I was shocked at the level of interest. Though I'm not shocked that parents are looking for more tools around advocacy. And so ChatGPT in particular is an area that we see parents interested in, but there's no formal structure for training around that. So I think that you're really going to enjoy his presentation today. He's a candidate studying, a PhD candidate studying computer science at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. His research looks at how we can build technology to assist at different parts of the special education process, to student learning, teaching, and parent advocacy. He focuses on engaging with different populations in the special education space to make sure that new technologies actually address the needs. His current research focuses on how to design AI technologies to assist parents of children with special needs to more effectively advocate for their children in schools, and how to introduce these technologies to parents so they feel more comfortable using them. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Ali, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Megan. Hi everyone. I really appreciate y'all taking out some time from your day to attend this. I hope it's valuable in some way. And all the information, obviously, this will be recorded, and the slides and everything that I share will be available for you to use later on or to refer to. And if at any point you have questions, please feel free to use the Zoom chat feature. And we will go ahead and just get started because I want to be respectful of your time and get you all out of here and get back to your day. And so I will begin by sharing my screen, and I hopefully people can go ahead and see my screen. Megan, am I good?
Yes, you're fine. Looks
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So just as a couple of logistical things before, so I want to kind of just include this disclaimer to begin that, we'll be going over things that ChatGPT can help with, but I want to emphasize that obviously Family Matters, PTIC is not a legal services agency and does not provide legal guidance. And please don't construe any of the information provided by both members of the Family Matters PTIC team or other agencies or individuals like myself presenting collaboratively with them as legal advice. So now that we've gone ahead and got sort of the legal stuff out of the way, I want to go ahead and get started with the content. So today's agenda, it's relatively short, and it's just going to be a couple things. First, we're going to go through what ChatGPT is and how it works, some simple ways that it can help with special education advocacy from the parent point of view, tips for using it safely and effectively, and last but not least, we'll show you at least some hands-on practice for using it for real-life situations. So to begin, what is ChatGPT? It's a tool that uses artificial intelligence or AI to understand and respond to text provided by humans. It's learned from a huge amount of text from the internet on terms of how to chat with humans and answer their questions and requests. And it's just another way that you can use the internet and technology to help with advocacy. And that's one of the biggest things that I want you all to get out of this, where I know it can sound a little intimidating when you say the words ChatGPT or AI, but really I want you all to think about it as just another way you can use technology to help you. So think about it as just another Google or another, Facebook social network support group, or, even another like ISB website, or last but not least, like a rights law. Just think about it as another way that you can use the internet to help you in your advocacy. Now, something really interesting about these other pieces of technology that you might be able to use is that we've actually talked to parents, and I think two of the biggest weaknesses of these existing technologies is that first, it's kind of hard to look at information on the internet and actually know, okay, okay, what do I do with this information? It's like, it's one thing to read a law or read even a summary of a law, but it's another thing to understand how do we actually use this law to help, help you in your situation. And then another problem that people have talked to us a lot about, and parents in particular, is that the information they find on the internet or in other resources is often not personalized. And I'm sure in all of your experiences, you've encountered things where, people will say, oh, because, your child has this specific disability, this is what should work for them. But it's kind of this lack of context or understanding of the overall situation that sort of makes it difficult to use that information to actually help you. And so the cool thing is that ChatGPT can be used to get this sort of actionable and personalized information. So it sort of hits this nice sweet spot. And so overall, I want to emphasize that firstly, ChatGPT is free to use. There are pro options, but you do not need to use them. And in fact, you don't even need an account to use ChatGPT. Now, like all these technologies, they're built by a company, OpenAI, and they might want to sort of advertise these pro options to you, but you should never feel that pressure to spend money on this. Next, ChatGPT is available 24/7 as long as you have an internet connection. And last but not least, it's easy to navigate. There's no digging through lots of web pages or books or pages to find the information. It's all right there, right in front of you. And so how does ChatGPT work? There's kinds of two words that make up ChatGPT. There's the chat part, which is, like we said before, hey, you go back and forth, you chat with the tool. And then GPT is just a technical term. You don't really need to remember what it means, but it just stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And the way it works is that it recognizes patterns in language. So it looks at what you type, it compares it to everything that it's learned, and then it tries to give you the most helpful response that it can. And so I want to first stop and ask our first poll question, Megan, about have you ever heard of ChatGPT before today? Perfect. And I think it's actually asking it's asking a series of poll questions. I'd love for everyone to just take maybe a couple minutes and just answer these because I think it would be really helpful for us to get a sense of sort of who all is here today and what are the sort of things that they run into and things about special education. So I want to give people maybe like 2 minutes. Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and just move on. I think hopefully if you haven't answered all the poll questions, that's totally fine. But And so what I want to emphasize here is that if you haven't heard about ChatGPT before, don't worry, most parents haven't, or a lot of people actually haven't. And actually, a poll in 2023 found that only 30% of parents have heard of or used ChatGPT. And then if you're saying, hey, 2023 was a long time ago, in 2025, that number only went up to 42%. So it's this technology that has been around for a few years, but a lot of people don't actually know what it is or how to use it. And so hopefully, after this webinar, you feel a little bit more confident about A, what it is, but B, more importantly, how you can use it. And so how do you use ChatGPT? There's kind of two ways to go. There's either a website version or a mobile application version. And it'll just show an interface that you can just type a question or request and ChatGPT will generate a response. And then you can respond to that response. And it's sort of this way that you can just sort of go back and forth with the tool. And on the website, this is just if you go to chatgpt.com, you can see right here, you can type it in right now, and you can go and it should something like this should show up. And then all you do is start typing in this box at the bottom. And then you just hit enter and it should start working. Now, if you're on a phone application, I've included the screenshots from the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, which I believe are the two most common phone application stores. And these are what these apps look like. And then you can just click download on them and it should look really similar. I want to highlight that there a couple ways to make sure you're downloading the right phone application is one that says OpenAI as the creator of the app. And then you can also see that both of these applications have a lot of ratings and high and reviews. So even if you see an app that might say ChatGPT on the App Store, if it's not made by OpenAI and it doesn't look like it's been downloaded or reviewed a lot, that's probably a good sign that that's not actually ChatGPT and it's some other application made by someone else. So yeah, do keep an eye out for these sorts of signs to make sure that, hey, this is the real ChatGPT that I'm downloading. And so I want to show you what it looks like on the phone. So if you click this video here that I have here, hopefully everyone can see it. It's just a phone application where in this case, I'm asking, hey, help me write an email to the school to schedule an IEP meeting. And all you do is you just type it out and then you can hit enter and boom, it just starts responding to you. So it's really, really similar then on the website as well, where you can go to either chat.openai.com or chatgpt.com and you hit enter and it should do the same thing. So, oh, sorry. And so again, the way ChatGPT works is that it first tries to understand how best to answer your question. It presents the requested information in like a chat-like way, and then it gives you the opportunity to provide more clarification if needed. And so in general, there's a lot of ways you can use ChatGPT, and there's a lot of ways that people do use it. You can use it for writing help. You can use it to learn new things, summarizing documents or planning things like trips. You also might use it for tutoring or studying. You also can use it to brainstorm new ideas. And with all these everyday uses in mind, it's pretty easy to see how that can sort of shift over to being helpful for advocacy. You can use it to understand complex IEP language or learning about your rights and services, staying organized or finding new learning resources, or even just writing school emails or communication to the school and help you kind of build out ways to do that effectively. And so overall, ChatGPT can help parents advocate in a lot of different ways, and they can make these tasks and more easier, like through things like understanding your special education laws and rights, preparing for IEP meetings, writing advocacy letters and emails, generating questions for teachers and therapists, summarizing school documents and reports, and then finding and adapting learning materials. And there's kind of three ways you might think about ChatGPT in terms of helping you in parent advocacy for special education. The first way is as a support. And it can sort of help you guide, it can help by guiding you through unfamiliar terms and processes, giving you ideas for how to approach tricky conversations, or helping you write emails or letters when emotions are high, or even helping you review, existing letters or emails that you've already written to maybe help, sound a different way, or to make sure that you're including things that you want to in the letter or email. Next, you might want to think about ChatGPT as a simplifier. It can help explain really complex documents through things like sorry, I just see a chat and just making sure. And so it can do this by breaking down jargon in IEPs, reports, or emails. It can turn complex information into plain language, and it can even translate policies or laws into something that you actually as a parent can act on. And lastly, it can serve as a time saver, because a lot of these things can take a lot of time. So with ChatGPT, you might be able to at least start from square one instead of square zero. You're able to basically have initial versions of emails or checklists, and that you as a parent can then go look and improve later on, but you can at least start with something, because a lot of times the thing that takes the longest time is starting. And so with ChatGPT, you don't have to worry about that. And so important things to remember when using ChatGPT is, I know I've talked a lot about what it can do, but I want to emphasize that there are things that you should think about when you're using it. Firstly, please do not share any personal emails. And so what that means here is that, we'll go through that in a little bit more detail later on, but yeah, do not share personally identifying information. Next, ChatGPT is not a legal or a medical expert, and you should always double check information. And you want to use it as a tool, but also trust your instincts and other information sources that are out there. And a lot of times you should actually use it as a way to fact check what you find on ChatGPT. Sometimes actually it can make up sources or laws when giving you information. So you never want to use ChatGPT as the final decision maker on something, but you want to use it as a way to help you make that decision or just as another source of information. And you want to think of ChatGPT as a helpful guide, but never the final decision maker. You as the human should always be that final decision maker. And so at every step of the way, ChatGPT can help in this parent advocacy process. And I think I want to make that a little bit clearer as we go on in the next few slides. But whether it's at the very start of the process or you're at the end of the process, or, there's never an end to the process, but, as you're progressing, there's always ways where ChatGPT can be helpful. And so ChatGPT and privacy is a thing that I sort of talked a little bit about earlier on, and I want to now emphasize that a little bit more. So never share personal information that can identify you. So whether that's your child's full name or your full name, school name or location beyond maybe the state that you're in. You can say in Illinois because states can differ slightly, their laws and practices, but you never want to give, exact school name or like town names, in that, or even, teacher or doctor names, or even like medical diagnoses that are tied to an identity. So a great way to avoid this is keeping things general. So you can say, my 8-year-old with dyslexia, or a child in 3rd grade who struggles with reading, or a student who has an IEP for speech delays, but you don't want to get more specific than that. Just to kind of make sure that you're still having, you're keeping your privacy while still benefiting from ChatGPT. And so I want to emphasize here that ChatGPT is not meant to replace human experts like doctors, lawyers, or teachers. Those human experts are always the number one source of information. But what we're saying here is that ChatGPT, like I mentioned before, is always available. If you at like 10:30 p.m. want to think about something, you may not be able to reach a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor, but ChatGPT is always there. So it can at least give you information that you can then confirm with them the next day, but it is like a place you can go to start. Again, it's not always 100% correct. You should double check information, and it's not magic or a mind reader. You have to ask clear questions, and I'll get into what that means in the next couple slides. So tips for asking questions. The quality of your question is sort of affects the quality of your response. And what that means here is that you want to ask things that are clear and specific. And a couple ways to do that are first being, like I said, clear and specific. So instead of just saying, hey, tell me about IEPs, if your actual question is about something more specific, you should try and ask that. Next, you can always ask for a specific format or style. So if you want, preparing for an IEP meeting, you could maybe say, hey, give me a checklist of 5 things to do before my child's IEP meeting to sort of get you an answer in a format that you like, instead of just super long paragraph forms of text, which is sort of what ChatGPT's default response form is. And lastly, you can always use follow-up questions to refine what ChatGPT spits out. So after getting a response, you can always ask things like, can you give me an example? Or can you explain this in a simpler way? And so some example questions that you might want to think about is that instead of just saying, hey, tell me about IEPs, like I mentioned before, maybe you could say, hey, you add the specific type of question that you want to ask, and then maybe even add a little bit more context, like, oh, what is the disability that you're really thinking about? Next, in terms of how can I help my child, which is a quite general question, maybe you could ask like, hey, what are 3 ways I could support my 8-year-old with dyslexia at home? Sort of thinking about that. Again, you're getting a little bit more specific. And then lastly, rather than just, hey, write an email, you might want to say, hey, write a polite email to my child's school requesting a meeting to discuss their math accommodations under their IEP. It sort of shows you that the more specific and concrete of a question you ask, the more specific and concrete of an answer you'll receive. So it's this kind of 2-way, almost like thinking about it like, hey, it's not magic, it's not a mind reader. You still have to put in a little bit of work to ask these right questions. And so the way I would think about ChatGPT overall is that you should always think at the top, can I do the task on my own? And if the answer to that question is yes, then you should think about, hey, does ChatGPT have more or better knowledge than I do? And what that means here is that, is this something that you've already done a lot? And maybe you even consider yourself an expert? And if the answer to that question is know that, hey, you know what, I am an expert and I really don't need ChatGPT all that much. A great way you could use it then is just as a way to get feedback on what you've already done. Now, if the answer is to the question about if you can do the task on your own is no, then a great question to ask is, okay, what is my goal? And then you should actually ask that question if ChatGPT does have better knowledge or more knowledge about a specific thing than you do as well. And the question then here is, if you want to just learn how to do the task, you can then use ChatGPT to explain how you can do something. And if you just want to get something done, you can just guide ChatGPT to do the task for you. So it's sort of, this sort of flow chart, I think, should kind of guide you in terms of, hey, in terms of how you should use or how you might want to use ChatGPT. And so I want to now walk through some quick examples. And you can go to chatgpt.com or on your laptop or computer, or you go to the ChatGPT app on your phone. And I just saw a question that actually says that you've downloaded the ChatGPT app, but it's asking you to sign up. That is interesting because I guess with the app, maybe it's slightly different. You could maybe just go to Safari or Google Chrome on your phone and put in chatgpt.com from there as well. But yeah, so let's go through the first example, writing an email to the school. And maybe your goal here is to ask for an IEP meeting to review your child's progress. And an example prompt might be, write a polite email to my child's teacher asking for an IEP meeting because I'm concerned about their reading progress. And so if we copy this, and hopefully people can still see my screen, and this is just a fresh version of ChatGPT. If you go to chatgpt.com, it should look relatively similar to this. And if I just put in that and I click enter, you should see, okay, here's the output email here. And there's a couple ways, and it actually, you can see at the bottom here, ChatGPT actually says, hey, let me know if you'd like to tailor this more with specific concerns or school details. And a way that you can do this now is that you might actually say, oh, I want to discuss, or you can even say, I want to specifically discuss, accommodations. And then it should actually revises the email for you. And you can see here that because you said I want to specifically discuss accommodations, you can see how it shows now I'd like to review their current accommodations. So you can see that because you mentioned that in your question or your follow-up, it now mentions that to you again. And you could even change the tone. You can say, can you make this shorter and more formal? And then you can see here, it's now made it shorter and more formal. And I think what I want to illustrate here is that if we go back to the slideshow, is that there's a couple ways to kind of refine this prompt that you might think about. You can first specify your concerns like we did here, where you can say, I've noticed my child is struggling with decoding words and avoids reading at home. You can then actually think about specifically refining it to focus on an outcome or focus, where, like I had mentioned before, you want to talk about possibly updating my child's reading goals and accommodations. And then lastly, you could even change the tone like we had done, where you can say you want to make it shorter and more formal. And so that's one just quick example in terms of how you can use it. Another way you might think about it is summarizing documents, where you can simplify a paragraph or from an evaluation or even a whole IEP. So maybe one way you could think about that is like, explain this in simple language for a parent. Jane, which is just a sample name here, demonstrates below average phonological processing skills that impact decoding accuracy. And that's actually a real sentence that I had seen in an IEP that a parent had showed me, and I had no idea what that means. So this was actually a really great prompt for me. And so if we copy that here, and we go back to our ChatGPT instance, and we go ahead and do that here, and we hit enter, it actually kind of shows you, hey, Jane has trouble noticing and working with sounds and words, which makes it hard for her to sound out and read more words correctly. And you can say, let me know if you'd like this phrase for an IEP or report. And what I want to illustrate here is that you can do some of the things that we had talked about before, where we could say, put this in bullet point format. And you can see here that it changes the format because of what you asked for. Or maybe you're confused, you're still confused. So you could say, can you give an example? And you can see here that it sort of gives you a specific example now because you asked for it. So I think that, what I want to illustrate here again is that we can sort of add age and grade as more context. We might be able to change the format like we had done before. And then lastly, we could even ask for more information. And that's actually, I think, a really powerful and cool way to use ChatGPT, especially out in explaining things through its use of examples or bullet points or things like that. And sort of last but not least, we could even do things like, hey, what questions should I ask at an IEP meeting for a child with ADHD who struggles to focus in class? Now, we can sort of, I don't want to go back and forth between the two, but I want to sort of just highlight here that a couple things that we can do here might be asking for categories to break down the IEP plan, maybe request follow-ups in terms of like almost like practicing the IEP meeting with you. And then lastly, sort of including a goal where it's like, hey, I want to make sure my child has enough support to focus in class. What specific question should I ask the IEP team? And so other common examples to ask ChatGPT, which I'm not going to go through now, but actually, Family Matters was great enough, and Megan was great enough to provide some common examples of things that people had ran into. I think I want maybe people to take the time maybe later to sort of copy and paste these in and see what ChatGPT says. And I think this is a really great way to sort of test out, hey, what are the capabilities of ChatGPT and how can I use it to help me? And so overall, ChatGPT is just another tool you can add to your toolkit. And so like human resources like advocates, lawyers, and other parents are always the best. But if you're looking for just another online resource that is a little bit more personalized than what's out there right now, you should strongly consider using ChatGPT. And so a couple online resources that I'd even mentioned here are things like rightslawandunderstood.org, which provide up-to-date information on special education advocacy, and the Illinois State Board of Education website. It does exist at least out there, and you can definitely use it. And so, in summary, sort of as a parent, there's a lot of resources that you have around you. And what I want to hopefully highlight here today is that ChatGPT is just another one of those resources that you can use. And so, in summary, ChatGPT is an AI-based tool that can answer a variety of questions or requests. It can help parent advocates in a lot of different ways, and hopefully, I've shown you a couple ways that you can use it today. And when using ChatGPT, you should always ask clear and specific questions without giving personal information. And it can be a powerful tool to add to your advocacy toolkit. And so, with that, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to attend this webinar today. And I will include the links to a document that includes everything that we went over today, and I'll post that in the chat, as well as a follow-up survey that I would really appreciate people completing about their experience. I think it'll really help me sort of understand, hey, what are some things I could do better or improve on? What are some things that were good about the workshop? What are some things that were not so good? But yeah, with that in mind, that's all I have, and I'll go ahead and we can go ahead and get to Q&A now if people have any questions.
It does look like there's a couple of questions. I think actually both of them are on the same line. Do you have to create an account um, to sign up? And I think
So
you kind of addressed.
yeah,
Go ahead.
so on the laptops or computers, if you go to chatgpt.com, you should not. I actually even tested that out just this morning, and you do not need an account. I believe it sounds like on the phone version of the application, if you want to use it, you may have to make an account. But a way around that is if you go to Safari on your phone, or if you go to, an internet browser on your phone, you can just go to chatgpt.com in that, and you can use it without an account. And the only benefit of having an account is, I guess, you can use the mobile application and it actually will save your previous chats. Otherwise, if you don't have an account, each time you open up chatgpt.com, it'll just start from fresh. And so hopefully that answers the questions. And so, yeah, I will include a link in the Zoom chat to this survey, which would be really helpful if people can complete. Let me post that right now in Zoom chat. And then here is a link to the cheat sheet as well, if people are interested, that they can download and have for themselves for their own reference.
Holly, it's Megan. I know we talked about this, but I can't remember your answer. Will you be sending out the slides? Do you want me to send out the slides?
Oh, I can send them out later. I'll send them to you later to send in like a post afterwards, an email afterwards, if that's okay.
Yep, that sounds great.
Perfect. And then can you comment on the accuracy of ChatGPT and or veracity if they quote case law? So with law specifically, ChatGPT can be, oh, so I cannot see the links. Oh, that's weird. Um,
I'll try to fix that on my end. If not, we'll
okay.
send them out with the email.
Okay, perfect. So with ChatGPT law specifically, especially if they reference a law, that is something that I would highly recommend verifying to make sure that that law or case actually exists, because there have actually been instances in the past where ChatGPT might make up cases to oh, sorry. Okay, put it in. Yeah. And so what you might be able to do is, or what you should do is, if a law is ever specifically referenced, I would always highly recommend verifying that that law or that or case specifically actually exists. I think ChatGPT shines best when you're giving it information that you know is true and asking it to either summarize or sort of work with that information as opposed to coming up with new information on the spot. And hopefully that answers your question. And yeah, here I will actually type the I'll put the links here.
Yeah, let me know that you can drop them in. We're having some issues with chat accessibility. I don't know why.
Oh, I answered one, and then here let me see. Hmm. Perfect. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, sorry about the chat issue. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully people can see everything. And I did just answer a question. Um, And then another question is this very good information. Yeah, thank you so much. That like hopefully this is something that is useful. And if not, I look forward to seeing people say that much in the survey. Because it would be really helpful for us to sort of work on, the presentation or work on different things that we can share. But yeah, and I know we had said an hour and a half, but yeah, hopefully people are okay with it being a little bit shorter than that. So I really appreciate it. Hmm. Oh, one thing that on the survey is that university requirements indicate that we can only take survey responses from individuals that are based in Illinois. So if you're not based in Illinois, we can't, it may just automatically send you to the end of the survey. And Megan, can you verify that's true by clicking on the survey link and it doesn't show, that doesn't boot you to the beginning?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's working. It's
Okay, wonderful.
yeah.
Okay, I was worried. Okay, perfect. So yeah, it's basically, yeah, if you're not based in Illinois, just please don't worry about completing the survey. We just are not able to record your responses right now. Um, yeah, thank you so much. And yes,
Like, can you see that ChatGPT that request for a ChatGPT training for social workers?
that would be, yeah, I would love to do that. And actually, I think I would definitely need help from social workers to put that together, because I feel like that's like a whole other world. So I would love to sort of put something together with that. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions you can put in the Q&A? I think we're seeing everything that's up there right now, but
Yeah. And also, I will, in the email that we'll send out, like I'll include, maybe you can feel free to include my email if people are interested at all in reaching out for whatever reason, or if they have questions, I'm more than happy to answer. I really appreciate all of your time. Yeah, thank you. Mm.
okay. I think you've gotten all the questions you're going to get. My guess is you'll get some via email.
All right, perfect. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I look forward to it. Thank you all so much for attending.
Thank you all. Expect to receive the links and the slides via email in a follow-up email probably tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I will include Ollie's email in that.
Perfect. And thank you. And
Thank
I
you.
really will appreciate anyone's time with completing the survey. It would be extremely helpful for me, just I think, to sort of both get feedback on the content as well as the delivery of the webinar. And so, yes, please do. If you have the time and you're based in Illinois, we would love your feedback.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thanks.